I would like to share a very simple method of figuring out significant figures or significant digits, sig figs for short, that had been taught to me and a number of physics teachers at one of the conferences. I have no idea where it originated, but it is just very simple and very, very cool. And especially for those who live in the United States, it's very easy to relate to. So think US map. We have two oceans on either side of the United States. We have the Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. And this is not about geography, I promise you. This is all about significant digits. So we have those two oceans, Atlantic and Pacific. So, again, Pacific, think Pacific Ocean and the word present. Present relates to whether the decimal point is present in the number or it's absent in the number. And if it is absent, then you're going to think Atlantic Ocean. And what do I mean by think Pacific or Atlantic Oceans? Think of if you're coming on land, where are you coming from? If it's the Pacific Ocean that you're coming from, then you are moving from left to right. And that left to right is how you're going to count the digits. If it's Atlantic Ocean, as in if the decimal point is absent, you're going to start counting from right to left. Now, both times, regardless of where you start counting, left to right or right to left, you only start counting from the first non-zero digit. Remember, the first non-zero digit. As soon as it's not anything but zero, start counting, and you keep counting until you, I don't know, run out of breath or run out of numbers. Hopefully the letter will come first. So let's look at the example. 1.450. So you think present, Pacific, we're going to start counting from the left, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4. This number, 1.450, does have 4 significant digits. You start from the left because the decimal point is present and you're thinking Pacific Ocean. Next example, same number, but the decimal point is absent. Therefore, you're going to think Atlantic Ocean and you're going to start counting from right to left, from the first non-zero digit. So you don't count here. You start coming and boom, that's your first number, and 1, 2, 3. So this number only has 3 sig figs. Next, again, absent. There is an absence of the decimal point. We're thinking Atlantic Ocean. We're going to come from the right, and we're going to keep going until we bump into, boom, that's not a 0. So I start counting. 1, 2. This number, which is 25,000, because there's no decimal point in there, only has 2 sig figs. And then, next example. Boom. This one looks very similar, but there is a decimal point present. So therefore, we're going to start counting from the present Pacific left to right. And the very first number that we see is a non-zero. So we're going to start counting from that very first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as opposed to this number where we didn't have a decimal point and we counted from here and only found 2, this one starts from left. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sig figs versus 2. Now, again, let's practice this. This doesn't have any decimal points. We are going to come from the Atlantic Ocean for absence, and that's only 1 sig fig. As opposed to this one, where decimal point is present, so we're coming from the Pacific Ocean. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one, absence of the decimal point means we're coming from the right. These are all zeros. We're not counting them. 1, 2, 3. This one, there is a presence of the decimal point. We're going to come from the left, from the Pacific Ocean. We do not count zeros. We come into the first non-zero, and then we start counting until we run out of numbers. That's 2, 5, 0, 1, 2. 2 sig figs in this number. This one, all of these are significant because when we come from the right, the very first number is not a 0, so we do count all 6. However, this one, there is a presence of a decimal point, so therefore we're going to start from the Pacific Ocean because it's present, Pacific, it's left to right. Do not count until we bump into the first non-zero, which is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 3 sig figs. I hope this helps. Again, it's not my method. Somebody taught me, and I just thought it would be cool to share it with you. Keep learning. Bye.